7 days wrapped into 30 minutes. Welcome to Week in One. I'm Melissa Dupré. Let's recap on the week's top stories and interviews that made headlines on ENCA. With the escalation of cash-in-transit attacks and gang-related violence, we zone in on the proliferation of firearms in the country.
Because it's my second daughter that I'm going to bury. Is this fair that my our children is not safe in their own location?
Then the state has withdrawn charges against 3 people implicated in Thabo Beste's escape from prison. We also update on the current conflict in Gaza as Israel continues shelling in retaliation to the weekend attack by Hamas. A crime expert says more police operations are needed to seize illegal firearms. He says the failure to reclaim unlicensed firearms from criminals has caused a spike in crime in many communities, while cash-in-transit heists remain on the rise. Our reporters Pulele Tweety-Jones and Aisha Ismail took a deep dive into this phenomenon.
The proliferation of guns in communities have once again been highlighted. This as criminals go about their illegal business, carrying unlicensed firearms with brazen assurance. The recent prevalence of cash-in-transit heists in Gauteng is evidence of this. And one crime expert is questioning the lack and quality of intelligence.
It shows you how cool and calm these criminals are. They're striking in broad daylight. They take the bombs, they take their time, they block off the highway. Members of the public are waiting to pick up the remains of the cash. There's no police inside. The police only arrive half an hour later, despite the nearest police station, Mondio, being just a few kilometers away. The JMPD also arrived many minutes after the robbers have left. And again, when you look at the violence that goes with these attacks, it shows you that there's a lack of intelligence.
And with intelligence seemingly missing in action, gun-related murders are becoming rife in communities. 14-year-old Brady Gabriel was shot dead, allegedly by a gangster in Westbury, while out with her friend. Her family is terrified.
My daughter was shot on the left-hand side, right through her head. And as with the interim of shooting, she fell on the same wound, and she fell her whole eye, and her other eye popped out. She was rushed to Laratong Hospital, where she was seen to, but not properly, but anyway, yes, she was seen to. And then 6 o'clock, 6:20 past 6, we got the message to say my daughter has passed away. I was hysterical, I was mad, I was in pain, because it's my second daughter that I'm going to bury. Is this fair that my our children is not safe in their own location?
Her mother says police visibility is urgently needed.
The SAPS, wake up now. It's getting now really out. SAPS, wake up. Wake up, please, man. Please. Our children is dying. People is dying here. It saddens for us to come pick our children up in the street like dogs because they're getting shot like dogs. Every minute, every second, every hour, every day, every week, every month. It's getting worse.
The family is expected to bury their daughter this weekend. The Gabriel family's sorrow is yet another example of the challenges faced by police in stemming out of control gun violence. Pule Tweety-Jones in Johannesburg.
The latest victims, 2 security guards aged 25 and 31 who intervened when a vehicle they were escorting in Langa was being robbed. They were shot multiple times and both succumbed to their injuries.
On average of per week, 30 to 40 guns are confiscated religiously. Arresting many people, sometimes depending if it's 1 or 2 or 3 people are arrested in one incident.
The Western Cape Police Commissioner says there are various sources of illegal guns.
If one starts with from the point that the guns, illegal guns that we get at one stage, somebody owned that gun legally. Whether you're talking about guns from the deceased estates that have not been registered, and when are you talking about guns that gun owners lost.
He says many SAPS members live in high-crime areas and they get attacked and robbed of their firearms, often getting killed in the process. But he says they are also seeing an increase in homemade guns.
The zip guns that you find, They there. And also, what has come again up to be a problematic area is the blank guns that are used for film industries. Now they get modified into real guns.
The City of Cape Town's JP Smith says his law enforcement officers are doing what they can to rid the streets of Cape Town of illegal guns.
For me, the most obvious and egregious example are the firearms that disappeared from the National Firearms Armory. The loss of an estimated 9,000 firearms sold to taxi syndicates and gangs across our city and presumably elsewhere is a crisis.
It's believed gang bosses have stockpiled these firearms and release them as and when the need arises.
In the last 22 months, it comes to just on 674 guns that we have taken off the street. It's an astonishing number of firearms that we are impounding. Now, there is a major crisis.
On Tuesday, several guns and ammunition were confiscated in the Cape Metro, including at a hotel in Sea Point. Arrests have been made in these cases. Aisha Ismail, Cape Town.
The state has withdrawn charges against 3 people who were implicated in Thabo Bester's escape from prison. Meanwhile, Nandipa Magudumana's legal team says she was forcefully brought to court despite being ill. ENCA senior reporter Silindelo Masikane has more.
Sinuhema Tswara, Zolile Sekeleni, Tebogo Dupulu, Thabo Bester, Mutanyana Masukela, Diego Makhotsa, Nastasia Jansen, Zanda Moyo, Tabang Mir, Joma Kheta, and Moikezi Ramudula made a brief appearance in the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court. Missing in the lineup is Nandipa Magudumana. Minutes before proceedings began, it emerged that she was being attended to by paramedics.
She did faint. I got information actually that I should rush to Park Road Police Station. I went there, and upon my arrival, I was told to see her through some classes, which obviously I found to be really unacceptable. You are told your client has fainted, and you are then refused direct access to see her. For what? I don't know. I then left, only for her to be brought in the police cells. She is down in the police cells in the basement. She's on the floor, as I say. The situation, the conditions are appalling. This is really a worst form of inhumane condition that can subject even an accused person. They also have rights. By the way, she didn't invite illness. She is unwell. She is unfit to be here. And yet, she had to be dragged all the way here. Is it because she has to be subjected to some form of humiliation? For what reason?
The NPA also informed the court that it will be prosecuting 9 suspects instead of 12. Jansen, Mir, and Ramudula have had charges against them dropped.
I'm okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Are you happy? Are you relieved?
I'm relieved.
Yeah?
Yeah, I can sleep at night now. Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah?
I can't explain how I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has it been quite difficult for you?
Too much. Too much.
Yeah. I understand, of course, that you must be quite excited to know that your daughter has been released and the charges have been withdrawn, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm very happy. I'm so happy. I don't know what to say, but I'm happy.
I understand this may have been very difficult for you and your family.
It was very difficult, but today I'm excited.
You're excited. Nastasia, you're looking away, but how are you feeling?
Moment for now. I'm feeling great, thank you.
Are you happy?
I'm happy.
You relieved?
Yes.
Yes. You can finally move on?
Yes. Yes. Continue with life.
Bester has beefed up his legal team and has enlisted the services of Jan Lobser, Zandile Mshololo, and Dalim Bofu. The accused have been served with their indictments. The matter will resume in the High Court on the 21st of February 2024 for a pre-trial conference. Slindalo Masigane, Bloemfontein in the Free State.
Stay tuned to Week in One. Coming up, we look at some of the big interviews that our anchors have conducted this week. Welcome back to Week in One. I'm Melissa Dupré. Fears of a ground assault are rife as Israel retaliates against Saturday's attack by Palestinian group Hamas. The number of Israeli soldiers on the border with Palestine continues to rise as the death toll spirals into the thousands. ENCA anchor Masego Rahlaka spoke to our correspondent Sarah Coates for the latest from Tel Aviv.
Is it true that it's only the Israeli airlines that currently have not cancelled their flights?
Well, look, we do know that it is extremely hard to get in and out. Even when I flew over here a couple of days ago from Paris, it took me around 48 hours for what should have been a 4-hour flight. I've got a colleague trying to get in who simply cannot. So, look, it is a number of airlines that have decided to stop flights. There's just so much fear and panic about what is going on here on the ground. Even after I arrived yesterday, there were rockets over Ben Gurion International Airport, which is only mere kilometres from where we're standing now. You know, there's real fear that a ground operation could really heat things up in the coming hours. Military analysts are predicting that is what will happen, just given the amount of troops, Israeli troops amassing there on the Gaza border. Israel has seen the biggest IDF call-up in its history. More than 300,000 reservists have now been called up to serve the country, really in the wake of this unprecedented attack, which took place on Saturday, now being day 4 of this conflict. Now, Hamas has just come out to speak about this hostage situation, saying that there will be no prisoner swap until after the war ends. And look, no one knows when that will happen. This is obviously an extremely concerning time for these families. Many families arriving here in Israel knowing that their loved ones have been taken captive in Gaza and are being held. No one knows where they are or their situation. So there, of course, is a lot of torment, a lot of fear here on the ground, just with the fact that people do not know where anyone is.
Cash in transit heists have seen criminals become even more brazen. They attack vans in broad daylight, shoot at police vans and choppers, and put the lives of bystanders at risk. ENCA business anchor Rafiwa Madzena spoke to Calvin Rafadi, who is a forensic investigator at BizTraces.
Tell us a little bit about where these criminals would learn this from and improve the way in which they attack these vans over the years, because over the weekend we spoke to some other analysts to say that there's not necessarily organized syndicates that go for these heists, but people that are hired for a job, if you'll call it, and then they'll move on to the next one. So the training, if you will, that they are getting and where that comes from.
In the past, we had a lot of comrades that have went to exile. Now, this was actually basically a training that was from their military training, whereby should our country suffer economically, they will go and take the neighboring president or one of the diplomats. So that's why you've seen with our high-ranking political officials, they are escorted with so many vehicles so that their security is not compromised. Now, this was a training that was done in the exile way back then. But now it is very worrisome because it's a skill that is being transferred. So that's why in most of these criminal activities, you'll find ex-militant guys that are involved in those particular cash in transit. And like we always say, everybody has a role in that particular space of that particular crime, whereby you get the ones that will plug in the explosives, you get the one that will sit at the off-ramp waiting for the aftermath of everybody to jump in a particular car so that it's an off-ramp. Now, in that particular car, that's when you get the old guys that have transferred skills to these boys on how to combat this particular crime.
Now the DA is calling for an investigation into National Assembly Speaker Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula. This follows reports that the Parliament Secretary's salary was increased by a whopping 70%, just 7 months into the job. Anchor Gareth Edwards spoke to DA Chief Whip Siviwe Gwarube for her take on this.
It's quite a jump. I would like to know what that performance appraisal looked like.
Our view and our suspicion is that, in fact, from the very beginning, the Speaker, the Executive Authority, so the Speaker and the NCOP chair, probably misled Parliament by insisting that the incumbent would be paid 2.6 million rand. Because if one looks at the documents that have now been made public, you will then see that, in fact, while Parliament had appointed Mr. George in June of 2022, in October of 2022, already the salary review that they proclaim started and in fact was then backdated. And so instead of being paid 2.6 million rand, the Secretary to Parliament is being paid 4.4 million rand. And if one looks at the statement that that Parliament released late last night, there's been no essentially any denial that that is in fact the case. What they're simply saying is that this is routine and that this is in line with market-related sort of practices. But the reality here, Gareth, is that we were at pains as political parties in Parliament to say, we know that the Secretary of Parliament had been at Salga, where he had been paid in excess of 5 million rand. If he is coming to Parliament, it better then be within what Parliament is able to afford, which is 2.6 million rand. And the Speaker unequivocally committed to the House, to members of Parliament, and in effect, an extension to the public, that that was the salary that was offered to the Secretary. And now we are realizing that, in fact, we were duped in Parliament by the Speaker, because the review was then done 3 months after his appointment and has been backdated to when he began work.
Stay tuned to Week in One. Coming up, angry Johannesburg residents take to the streets once again over ongoing power cuts. Welcome back to Week in One. I'm Melissa Dupré. Joburg's mayor is highlighting poor planning of housing developments as a key reason many residents are subjected to constant power cuts. Angry Randburg residents blockaded roads with burning tyres and debris in protest against constant electricity outages. ENCA reporter Bafedile Murane has more.
North Riding residents once again left in the dark. The area has been suffering power cuts for years. Angry residents took matters to the streets on Tuesday evening, barricading the road with burning tires and debris. This, as they say, power cuts have become the norm.
Every 2 weeks or every week, there is a power cut of some sort. We get to lose power. If you go down there, you will realize that every time there's always a cable that's been stolen. They don't even close it down for some reason.
We are struggling a lot with the other problems that come along with the power outages. For example, the reason why they say we're having the sewer on the streets is because they say Joburg Water had to redirect the sewage because it falls under the same line with the city power cables.
Population density growth resulting in more housing demands has been blamed for the deterioration in service delivery. But who is responsible for this poor planning that impacts ratepayers so bad?
It is an issue with the infrastructure overload in this area. Then it's impacting negatively on the service delivery, but it's not due to a lack of budget or an aging infrastructure. It's a lack of, it's in fact poor planning, and prioritizing the need for housing.
The budget that was allocated for us was removed. It's a big problem, and it's something that I have to fight, and we're fighting it all the time. Now, what we're working on, we're not working on capital budget, we're working on OPEX budget. And that is where that's why they're patching, because that comes out of the OPEX budget. We've got to make sure that we get what we actually need and deserve as a community.
While the municipality is appealing for patience, residents say it's unfair. They pay higher rates for services they have no access to. Meanwhile, city power officials have been dispatched to tackle the issue, while government works on finding a long-term solution. Bafedile Mwerani, North Riding, Johannesburg.
Meanwhile, residents of Protea North in Soweto have been without electricity for about 5 months now. They say Eskom blamed the explosion on a nearby transformer for their lack of electricity. The community claims that Eskom promises to replace the faulty transformer, but only if those who haven't paid their bills do so. ENCA's Theodore Mashele compiled this report.
Eskom has been playing hardball with this community, promising to restore their electricity supply only if they settle their outstanding bills.
And we were told that they will come and fix this substation. On the 13th of August, we were actually in a council meeting with the councillor and the Eskom Service Centre, who promised the community that we are first on the list, and the substation will be installed that very week. This is the 13th of August, Theo. We are now on I believe, the 10th of October, so we are being fooled around.
A nearby senior care facility is also impacted, and they are concerned about medical supplies that rely on electricity.
We even decided to reduce the meals that we're giving the elderly, where we're no longer cooking the lunch. They come for breakfast only, and we have even to cut the activities that they're doing because we can't provide all the activities. And the worst part is some of these elderly are on oxygen as well.
Parents are now worried about their children's education because the local school is also affected. Small businesses have also not been immune, watching their revenues plummet.
To extend our staff because petrol for generator, gas for pay. It affected our more special car weekend. Our business maybe it with a chelepenyana, shading. The customer
Eskom has now provided the community with new timelines to replace the transformer.
They have since signed the deferred payment arrangements, and we've ordered their mini-sub. It's supposed to be installed on Friday, this coming Friday, the 13th. I think what is also important is that it should be noted that we have been engaging with the community, just keeping them up to date as to how far we are with the procurement process. And this morning we also did update them to say that the mini-sub will be installed on Friday.
It's good news for the Protea North community. After waiting 5 months for electricity, it seems by Friday their problems will be over. Theodore Mashele, Johannesburg.
Residents of Namakwe in the Eastern Cape say healthcare services in the area are in shambles. For months now, communities have complained about a lack of water and sanitation at the local community health centre. Ronald Masinda filed this report.
Some patients have to travel for kilometers just to reach the Namakwe Community Health Centre. And with a lack of wheelchairs or ambulance services, the disabled are sometimes forced to be transported by using a wheelbarrow.
Uthathe treatment apho kufutshana khona utransfer pha emuntu memjonga songo siya efizwa nangoku.
Toilets oko zazihleli zinje. I think from 2021.
We gained access by using cell phone footage. One of the volunteers says that even the toilets are not working.
Toilets zalapha bhuti azinamanzi, akho manzi. And njengoba ububona nawe bazigugile azikho semgangathweni onothi uncedisane ne-patients bayakhala even i-patients ufika umuntu omdala mhlawumbi apha atshiswe ngumchamo iselapha ubuza i-toilets siyoyika umkhombisa kuba zimdaka zilolo hlobo luluzululo.
Meanwhile, the Eastern Cape Health Department says that the conditions at the Community Health Centre will improve.
The department is looking into the issues that are being raised. We can confirm that we have recently appointed 3 professional nurses from Namakwe Community Health Centre. Another one is expected to assume duties on the 1st of November. With regards to issues of maintenance, that is frequently carried out. However, we face the challenge of mothers flushing down disposables into the toilets, hence the challenge, but it is being looked at.
The people from the villages of Namakwe say that the promises made by the Eastern Cape Health Department are worrying, as they have been complaining for several years with nothing much being done. Ronald Masinda, Namakwe.
And that ends this week's edition of Week in One. From myself and the team, have a great weekend.